The astonishing evolution of women's appearance and lives over the last century. The past 100 years have brought about a profound transformation in women's appearances and lives. While looking back at a beauty from Florence Island 18,000 years ago reveals radical changes, and for millennia after that, shifts were mostly in superficial aspects like hairstyles, makeup, and clothing, it's the last century that has brought about truly unprecedented changes, making modern women almost unrecognizable to our great-grandmothers. But what exactly are these transformations? The harsh realities of women's lives a century ago. To grasp the magnitude of these shifts, simply compare modern photographs with those from the early 20th century. Imagine a 35-year-old peasant woman from rural America or a 37-year-old woman from the British countryside in old photos. They appear significantly older than their contemporary counterparts, like Jennifer Aniston or Kate Middleton. Even a 45-year-old Angelina Jolie without makeup looks remarkably younger. It wasn't just about the absence of modern cosmetics for our great-grandmothers. Their lifestyles were incredibly demanding. Women in agrarian societies spent entire days in fields, exposed to scorching sun, wind, and freezing temperatures. Their skin, constantly battling the elements, would toughen, wrinkle, and become thick and dark. Beyond farm work, they managed entire households, carrying heavy buckets of water, often across a village, and washing clothes in icy rivers. This relentless physical labor and lack of proper hygiene led to rapid aging. By age 25, a woman could easily look 35 or even 50, especially if heavy work had caused spinal issues leading to stooping. Frequent pregnancies, calcium deficiencies, and often domestic abuse contributed to significant tooth loss, negatively impacting their facial structure and speech. Debunking the myth of the beautiful peasant woman in art and photography. There's a prevailing myth of the beautiful peasant woman often depicted in paintings. However, many artists, including those from the American and European schools, frequently used housemaids from affluent homes, who weren't toiling under the sun, or even urban women who had no connection to manual labor as their models. Old photographs can also be misleading. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, it became fashionable among the gentry and urban dwellers to be photographed in traditional rural attire. Experts today often have to carefully distinguish genuine working-class individuals from upper-class women merely posing in such clothing, distinguishing between past and present, the fairer sex. Even upper-class women from that era, despite their privileged lives, differed from modern women. Figures like Mary Pickford, the Canadian-American silent film star, or Cléo de Merode, the celebrated French dancer, were considered beauties of their time. However, their features and overall appearance subtly diverged from our contemporaries. The remarkable extension of life and youth scientists confirm that today, women and men are living longer than ever before. Chronic illnesses tend to manifest 10-15 years later than in the previous century, and strenuous physical labor, which once aged people prematurely, has significantly decreased. In the 19th century, women typically gave birth to around 10 children, with perhaps half surviving. This was true for all social classes. Imagine the toll on a woman's body. For instance, the mother of a prominent figure like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, if she had a similar experience, could have borne a dozen or more children. The number of women who died from childbirth complications was also tragically high. Many literary characters we perceive as elderly were, by modern standards, quite young. A character in a 19th century novel described as a woman of 30 might already show traces of former beauty. Juliet's mother in Shakespeare's play was likely no more than 28, and the old woman, who was the moneylender in Crime and Punishment, was explicitly described as a tiny, shriveled old woman of 60 with sharp, malicious eyes. However, a grandmotherly figure in a 19th century American novel might have been in her mid-30s or early 40s, considering early marriage and childbirth. Thanks to accessible medicine and less strenuous lives, the period of youth today extends much longer, not just to 40 or even 30, but well into the 50s, shifting ideals of female figures in stature. A century ago, ideals of the female figure underwent a radical transformation in the Western world. The European ideal of slenderness permeated urban populations, while in more rural communities, a preference for fuller figures often persisted. As urban populations grew, plumpness fell out of fashion, and a woman with a more robust physique, once considered a beauty standard, became seen as outdated. A large bust was also unfashionable, with women sometimes even binding their chests. A protruding stomach was considered particularly vulgar. Before World War I, figures like the American heiress and socialite Consuelo Vanderbilt, known for her slender grace, often epitomized beauty among aristocratic women. Over the past century, women have also significantly grown taller. The average height of a woman in the late 19th and early 20th centuries was about 5 feet, 152 centimeters, with a weight of around 120 pounds, 55 kilos. Today we are, on average, about 6 inches, 15 centimeters taller. If this trend continues, by the 22nd century, the average height of women globally could reach 6 feet, 183 centimeters. To men of the 18th century, we would appear to be giants, as the average male height then was only about 5 feet 1 inch, 155 centimeters. Transformations in behavior, manners, and intelligence. Perhaps what would most astonish men of the past isn't our appearance, makeup, or bone structure, but our behavior and manners. Just a century ago, men held unquestionable authority. At dinner, the man was served first, while women and children waited their turn. The notion of equality was practically non-existent. Interesting changes have also occurred in intelligence. New Zealand professor James Flynn asserts that for the first time in a century, women have surpassed men in IQ test results. A few decades ago, the average female score was 6 points lower. Now women have surpassed men by 12 points. While not everyone agrees with his calculations, some attributing it to hormonal fluctuations in women, Flynn explains it by the increasing complexity of the modern world and the need for adaptation. The female mind, forced to juggle family and career, is evolving faster than the male, leading to this apparent lead. The fading of mystery and sacredness. Despite all the advantages, longer lives, improved appearances, and extended youth, some researchers note drawbacks. The mystery and sacredness of the female image have seemingly faded. Modern women in New York, London, Paris, and Tokyo are becoming increasingly homogeneous. They watch the same movies, read the same books, and wear the same brands. Along with this, something profound and indigenous, which can only be offered by a deep connection to one's native land, seems to have been lost. In many traditional cultures, women were seen as keepers of the world, the only ones who could give life. The entire world was deeply connected to them. Perhaps this explains the different gaze in the eyes of women in old photographs. A gaze that is deeper, knowing something we have long forgotten.